The New York Knicks are coming off their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance in 25 years, but unfortunately, New York fell short to the Indiana Pacers. The Knicks now have their sights set on the upcoming 2025-2026 season, where they look to make it to the NBA Finals and win the NBA championship. The Knicks, they came into this offseason not expected to do a whole ton, but I absolutely loved what they ended up doing. Their starters played a ton of minutes. The Knicks starting lineup played 940 minutes, 226 minutes more than any other lineup in the league. We all know they needed some reinforcements for their second unit. And this offseason, the Knicks, they added in some players who I think are going to help their bench, help their rotation, and two guys who I think were brilliant pickups in Jordan Clarkson and Yabusele. We're going to be taking a look at those two key additions and why the Knicks are in a really good spot when it comes to competing in the East and potentially making out of the East for a chance to win the title. Do me a solid, guys. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are on the road to 41K subs. If you all can do me a solid favor, please hit that like button and subscribe button. It is absolutely free and it helps me a ton. So the Knicks, they brought in Jordan Clarkson, who's going to bring instant offense to their second unit. Clarkson, he was brought in to fill a specific need, and that is a guy who is an efficient, high-volume scorer when the starters rest. And you look at Clarkson, he did average 16.2 points last season across 37 games while shooting 40.8% from the field and 36.2% from deep. And of course, he won the 2020-2021 Sixth Man of the Year award with the Jazz. And what if I told you that Jordan Clarkson is actually a nice bet if you are looking for a potential Sixth Man of the Year winner for this upcoming season? I could see it happening. Clarkson, he provides a unique scoring element, and he is a guy who can string together runs that can absolutely swing games in the matter of minutes. And this is exactly the type of player the Knicks needed, because when they have a guy like Brunson or some of their key starters sit on the bench, Clarkson can still keep that offense afloat. And Clarkson, I mean, he's been a major force in being able to maintain positive bench production. He did a wonderful job of being able to prop up some of those second units with the Jazz over his tenure with the team. And the Jazz actually ranked in the top 10 in bench scoring in the 5 full years that Clarkson played with the team. So this is an absolutely big get. And as you look at the Knicks, they were dead last in the NBA in bench scoring. They scored just 21.7 points per game. That was dead last by a margin. I mean, the ranking was so low that the NBA hadn't seen a bench produce that minimally since the Blazers bench averaged 18.5 points per game during the 2012-2013 season. So it's safe to say the Knicks, they needed some upgrades for their bench, and Clarkson is a huge part of that, as he can score it in a variety of different ways. And I just love his game. He's able to just let it fly from deep. And he's also an average shooter, so that is going to help the Knicks. I know he's a bit streaky, but he is a guy who's able to, get buckets in bunches. And last year, he was able to drain 37% of his threes. And he did make 46% of his attempts from the corner. So I think that three-point shooting is going to help the Knicks, and just his ability to generate offense on the fly as well. And then the next move the Knicks made, another key reinforcement for their second unit, Yabusele. I can't believe the Knicks pulled this off, seriously. I didn't even think Yabusele was going to be available for the Knicks, and there he was. And he's going to give the Knicks some more much-needed bench depth. You look at Yabusele, he's going to step in immediately. Yabusele placed in the 84th percentile in the entire league on the offensive side of the ball per dunks and threes. That ranks higher than any non-starter from last year's Knicks team. That is unreal. That actually ranks higher than everyone not named Brunson or Karl Anthony Towns. So Yabusele provides a lot of value, and if the Knicks want to go with their two big lineups, he can instantly fit in and help that. And he's a big body, and the fact that he did sign with the Knicks for a little less than the full taxpayer mid-level exception, that is a steal. I mean, his average annual value over the next 2 years will be $5.6 million per spot track. So I'm surprised that the Sixers didn't do more in terms of trying to keep him. And Yabusele, he was available, and the Knicks got him, as he is a guy who can help the Knicks interior, especially when a guy like Karl Anthony Towns heads to the bench. So you do look at the Knicks early depth chart. I know the season is still a little more than a month away, but the Knicks, I do think they're going to experiment with having Josh Hart from off the bench. Obviously, another big move the Knicks made was firing Tom Thibodeau to bring in Mike Brown, and I think Mike Brown's going to prioritize defense. And we could see a lineup of Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Towns, and Mitchell Robinson. And that's going to allow for Josh Hart to move to the second unit, all of a sudden creating a balanced second unit of Miles McBride, Jordan Clarkson, Josh Hart, Yabusele, and Hukporti. But you look at the potential change. Let's just say the Knicks do decide to start Mitchell Robinson. I think he's going to be an anchor for that front line. And you look at it, Hart, he's going to be able to handle the lineup change better than anybody else. He's the ultimate professional, because you look at the starting lineup of Brunson, Bridges, Hart, OG, and Towns. It actually did struggle in the postseason, despite the team making it, of course, to the Eastern Conference Finals. That five-man group played a playoff leading 335 minutes together and had a minus 6.2 net rating. And then midway through the postseason, former head coach Tom Thibodeau, he did swap Robinson into the starting lineup. So I do think that starting lineup will come to fruition. We will see Mitchell Robinson be a starter, and I think having Mitchell Robinson in the lineup will help their defense. And all in all, I think you're looking at a Knicks rotation, especially as we get, closer to playoff time. You're looking at a 9-man rotation. I think it's going to consist of, Brown, Bridges, and Anunoby, Towns, Hart, Robinson, McBride, Clarkson, and Yabusele. Like, that's the strong top 9 for this team. And I think the difference this time around for the Knicks come playoff time is that they're going to have guys who they can rely on from their second unit to alleviate a lot of that load, alleviate a lot of that pressure from the starters, because you saw, like, the starters, there was a lot of wear and tear, and the Knicks needed a little bit more from their bench. And I think a couple of guys like Clarkson and Yabusele can definitely help in that. So the Knicks, they got to improve, their defense, and Brown is surely going to help with that, especially when it comes to the pick and roll defense from Karl Anthony Towns. And then the offense, it did see a bigger than average drop off from the regular season to the playoffs, so that's going to have to be consistent if the Knicks want to make it to the finals. But you look at this team, it stacks up very nicely. I think the New York Knicks are going to be a top 2 seed. I think they have a chance to be the number 1 seed. I think Cleveland's still going to be very, very good, but Boston's obviously not going to be factored in this season. And then Orlando's probably going to take a significant step forward. But the Knicks, they're going to be a top team. I think at the very least, this is the top 3 seed, but I see them either as the number 1 or number 2 seed. And, this is a team that they've inched closer every season. A couple seasons ago, they made it to the second round. Injuries derailed them. Last season, I really felt like they were going to make it to the NBA Finals, but of course, the Pacers ended up being too much. And part of the reason why they were too much was because the Pacers were just a deeper team. And now that the Knicks were able to add some nice depth, they went through that experience of losing to Indiana. Indiana's not going to be a thorn in their side anymore because they're expected to take a step back. I think New York, like, the East is theirs for the taking. I think you got to give the Knicks the edge because Cleveland still has to prove they can get to an Eastern Conference Finals. They have had a couple of shortcomings the previous seasons. Orlando, they could, be the Indiana Pacers of the season, but until they prove it, you're not going to anoint them. So New York, they're that team that they're right there. Couple of disappointing exits. They've gotten better, added the necessary pieces, new head coach. The Knicks, they're right on the brink of overcoming that hurdle and getting to the finish line and making it to, at the very least, an NBA Finals, because I think this Knicks fan base will definitely take that. So I actually like the Knicks. Right now, the Knicks are my pick to come out of the East. I think New York is the best team in the East, and I think they will make it to the NBA Finals. So we'll see if that happens and comes to fruition, but I love what the Knicks did this offseason. The minor moves are going to help them big time, and the Knicks, they look to be in prime position to get out of the East this season. Let's see if they can finally do just that. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Comment down below. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. That's it for me. It's Luke signing off. Thanks for watching. I will catch you all again in the next one.